Hey boys and girls, I'm Nick in the States, and today we're going to talk about this beautiful, wondrous, lovely, sexy, just delicious 2016 Gibson Les Paul Standard in beautiful light burst with a AAA top. Now, a few things. Lately I've been quite harsh on Gibson. I've said a lot of tough things about some of their lower end models, and all of which I think were rightly deserved. And yet, Gibson still knows how to do something right, something nice, something, dare we say, delightful. I dare to saith the delightfulness as an adjective. So what do we have here? We have a 2016 in light burst with the solid maple, no veneer tomfoolery like you imports. 2 burst pucker Shimanoras pickups. Look at that down below. It says right somewhere down in here which burst puckers they are. This has your classic style tunematic bridge. It's not the new style one that has the Allen hole. It's the old style one that's just a little piece of metal and some rolly things down below. It's a stop tail, 3-way switch, 2 volume, 2 tone, rosewood, the dreaded, the awful, the CITES treaty violating rosewood. Fretboard, 1-piece mahogany neck, locking Grover tuners. Isn't that sexy? Inlaid Gibson, Les Paul, normal, back to the signature, and the standard truss rod. This is a return to all that is right in the world after the 2015 debacle of automagical tuners, horrible looking holograms, bad Les Paul 100 signatures on the headstock. Where else are we missing here? Going to the body, detachable pickguards. I like those, actually. And some of the other shenanigans from 2015, Gibson went back to at least a more traditional setup in this, the Les Paul Standard T. They also make a standard HP that has a contoured heel, automagical tuners, a whole bunch of other stuff. This isn't that. It's just not. This is more old school. And when you're sitting here in a old school shirt with a so hip backwards cap because you're having a horrible hair day, old school is where it's at. I love this actually because this guitar is built exactly as I would have probably designed it myself with a couple options I wouldn't have done because I didn't know that they would be cool. So let's talk a little bit more about those things. So your standard stuff here, great Les Paul package, just add some sort of Britishy distortion and come back tomorrow and that probably still would have been going. But yes, it does the Les Paul things like you would expect it to. What it also does is they have a kind of a modified version of the Jimmy Page wiring with all the things that I think are cool. So, for example, you have your coil taps. Neck tapped. Not tapped. Tapped. Kind of nice. Likewise, bridge, untapped. Get an idea of some differences there. Tap them both, throw it in the middle. Not a huge amount of volume fall off, but definitely more single coily, but definitely not as close to a Strat as some other single coil tappy humbuckery things can get. But I think still nice to mix it up in your set, or if you're playing a bunch of different things. It gives you options. Speaking of options, you can then funk it up a little bit by doing out of phase. So throw it in the middle, pop this bad boy, compared to you kind of get an idea of like that cocked wah, or like as heard through a radio, like a little bit more Joyo-y California sound. Something different. Something maybe to cut through a mix, something maybe to do a little funky rhythm section. Playing with a band, it's another tonal palette. Likewise, and that's best fed up in the middle because it takes the two pickups and it plays games with how it lines up the sine waves and balances things out. I'm no scientist. I really don't know what out of phase means. It just means the pickups are kind of counteracting each other instead of working harmoniously. Now this next one, it's kind of the opposite of that. If that's the one where the pickups are fighting each other and what's left over is what you hear, the full bypass takes and skips basically all of the knobs, all of the tones, all of the volumes, and just takes the two pickups, stacks the output together, and throws it out the back door. So again, if this is your clean, now we pop that. You say, yeah, Nick, that's a little bit filler. That's a little bit more interesting. But why? Why? Yeah, it's all right. Here's where it really shines. So Joyo AC tone, give it a little dirty it up. This is not engaged. You know, sounds good. Engaged. Basically, what it seems to do is elevate things a little bit and then make them louder. So it's kind of like a fire hose of tone. I really enjoy it. There's no batteries, there's no 20 dB boost, there's no circuit that's doing that, so to speak. It's just bypassing everything and letting the pickups blast out the jack. And with a Marshall-y, British-y kind of thing, it just works wonders. And it's very, very cool. I really sort of dig it. So aside from that, fit and finish wise, here's where we do the beauty roll as I talk about it. It came very well done from the factory. I couldn't find any flaws in it. I really like the top. It's a flame top. From some angles it's a little understated, but it's still very classy. I like the muted edge to the burst. The neck is the asymmetrical neck profile, which is very comfortable because it's thicker up by your thumb and then kind of thins out for your fingers to come across. I love a baseball bat neck, a big healthy neck, but this is a very fast feeling neck, if that makes sense, where it feels like you can move around and get there kind of quick. It's still a gloss to the back of the neck, but it's just a comfortable, neat shape to my hand. It's also a return to the normal width of the necks from the wider ones that were in the 2015s. Also very, very cool. Like I said before, it's got the Grover locking tuners, which If I were to pick out a tuner that I wanted on all of my guitars that are like a 3x3 setup, I'd pick a Grover locking set. Locking tuners in this day and age are awesome. They're great. Just do them. Make stringing a hell of a lot easier, to be honest. Fret nibs, inlays are done epically good. The fretboard came nicely conditioned, unlike my 2015s. And all in all, it just came perfect. Came with a new hard shell case, no longer the gold ones, kind of back to the more traditional, less poly kind of shaped cases. Just a really great guitar that does just all of the things you would want it to do. We'll do a couple quick tones. First with a HX Soul Food. Well, that was fun. Anywho, come on. Everyone knows what this ball sounds like. These pickups are excellent, fun, articulate, ballsy, big, round, juicy, sexy, cuddly. All of those things. I stand behind every single one of them. Yeah. Cool thing. So this guitar is an in the USA Gibson that I bought from Germany. Why? Once again, Thomann occasionally blows out Gibsons at great prices. And instead of spending $2,800 in the US, give or take, I spent $1,600, a little bit, maybe $1,650 or so with shipping, and had it shipped in to me from the lovely folks there. I did it before the CITES Rosewood stuff. Had I done it after, it would have taken probably 8 weeks between purchase time to when they would be able to ship because of the paperwork. Just so you know, but Thomann's great to deal with. I love the guitar. I really enjoy the asymmetrical neck. I really like the tonal options at the taps and stuff. How often I will use that, I really have no idea, but I find myself using that full bypass mode actually pretty often because it's just when you dial in a great tone on the other stuff and you're going around, you just want more. Not just louder, but just something more about it. More presence, more everything. It's just, it goes to 11. As Nigel would say, it goes to 11. That's the 11 button. And that's super cool. So, yes, Gibson sometimes gets lost. They do things like the M2, which is not a very good guitar. With the Firebird Zero, where the beauty there is much in the eye of the beholder, and it has some of the same inherent flaws as the M2, but is slightly better. And yet, they still can do things like this, and many other guitars that I still dig. I'm still a Gibson fan for as much as I will poop on them when I feel necessary. And that's the joy of things. You know, nobody is judged by one individual thing. It's from a body of work. So anyway, 2016 Gibson Les Paul Standard T. Light burst. It's wonderful. Is it that much better than my cheap guitars? I have no idea. Maybe it's the Gibson magic. Maybe it's just the sheer cuddliness of this one. But I love it. I'm very happy with it. It gets played quite a bit. And, you know, it's a good guitar. It's a really, really good guitar. And I think everybody should give one a whirl at some point. Because there are the subtle little differences with how it feels, how it smells, how it plays, how it sounds, that when you do A/B it with one of the less expensive guitars, you pick out all those little tiny things, and they become a cumulative effect that you go, yeah, this guitar is better. How much better? That's the trick, and I think every single person has a different scale for how they will say that. All I know is it was worth it for me when I sold off 10 or 12 guitars in December that I condensed into one of these, and I'm really happy I did. With that, you know I have issues. I'm Nick in the States. Thanks for coming by, letting me share them with you. Now, let's see what I've got for the credit scene. Take care. You're still here. You need to go home. The video's, it's over. You've moved on. You should, you could subscribe right here, or we'll watch these things, but there's nothing else to see here. Just move along.